Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Frontier, our podcast that goes live to Patreon for our Patreons, bless their souls, ahead of time, and then you'll be probably hearing this, the majority of this is at the YouTube stage. So I should at this point reiterate that if you want to hear this more shortly after it's recorded, more closely to when it's recorded, along with helping us support, keep the lights on and everything, we have a Patreon. We also have some stuff going on the Patreon. We are working on around, unfortunately, our increasingly hectic lives, #COVID. Some other bit treats for our Patreon, such as a vlog about the other stuff we do around hobbies and in our free time. Possibly a little bit bitching about working. We haven't quite figured that out yet. As I said, we'll see what it's developing. We'll see where it goes and how we feel about it when we record it. Can't stop the flow of consciousness because that's pretty much what I do on a DM basis. Oh, there's that self-realization. Anyway, so we rejoin our lovely players, Claire and Astrid, with their characters, Flurry and Roth Hammerfall, inside the city of Windcarn, after the herd of centaur that Roth protects and that Flurry has apparently adopted, made their way across open haunted plains in the fledgling nation of Ustros that is being built out of the rubble and debris of a country that stood here previously, ripped apart during a war several centuries previous. And our heroes have found themselves inside the city, given a tent to rest inside one of the parks, along with the herd, to try and keep them feeling comfortable inside this walled behemoth of a place. But our heroes have been offered a job by a king.
I feel like kind of Roth is getting up the next morning. That gets really confused because he's in a tent and he doesn't really know what one is, and they can't get out of it, and then there's falling in hilarity for everyone else.
Do you guys share the tent?
No, I think we were given our own tents.
Separate? Okay. Florrie, you awaken to the noise of a centaur struggling with a tent.
I sort of take a moment to figure out exactly where I am, if it is a dangerous sound, and then realize what is happening. Go over to the other tent. Give a hand.
I don't like these things. He looks very just dazed, confused.
Keep us dry. That is pleasant.
How are you supposed to get out of them?
I sort of move the tent flap around.
Looks a bit suspiciously.
I suppose they are unfamiliar to your kind.
It's weird.
As you guys are having this discussion, you note a variety of different noises. Sounds of livestock being tended, the sound of a hammer striking an anvil in distance. As you glance out, there are the trees that surround this park. You can see between them, you can still see the city beyond this park and the people going about their daily lives. You can smell fresh bread and fresh caught fish on the air.
Roth's kind of nose wrinkles. I doubt he's probably eaten properly for weeks.
Yeah. Breakfast?
Yes. Wasn't someone taking us somewhere this morning?
Later,
Tekra?
surely.
Was that the name that weird white guy gave us?
It was, Yeah, I think that was it.
Tekra? TikTok?
There's a pause as through the trees strides a relatively confident-looking elf, looking around. His eyes clearly dancing across people. Both of you are combat orientated, and you note this person moves with a grace over a combatant, and the way his eyes move is clearly technically analysing for threats, but identifies you two specifically and wanders over. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
I believe you are Roth and Flurry, no?
Are you
Yes.
TikTok?
Takra.
Oh, we were so close.
Yeah.
Farad did give you my name correctly, didn't he? I wouldn't put it past him to get it wrong just to annoy me.
Sure, we'll go with that.
There's a moment where the elf is just analysing you for a second. Yes, we shall. Besides, I've been sent essentially to fetch you. Your clan, or tribe, herd? Herd. Sorry, had to find the correct cultural frame point. It will be provided basic sustenance. It won't be anything glamorous at the moment. It's at the king's expense. But hopefully, once they have assimilated in a little bit further, they can earn currency to buy their own and enjoy the quality that they wish to. But for now, I believe His Majesty has a job for you if you are so inclined to take it. It's work, it pays well.
This is that currency thing they were telling us about last night.
Yes.
Indeed.
I kind of look over to where the elders are gathered.
A number of the elders are still asleep. One of the younger elders, if such a thing exists, is awake and is just sort of quietly talking to several of the foals, like they're essentially babysitting, as the others are. The adults are essentially getting the idea of the width and breadth of this park. Okay, so Takara is looking at both of you. He is relatively well dressed. Like he's wearing armor and has a blade at his side. Is a bow slung over his shoulder and a quiver at his hip as well. Just looks across at the dog who's barking and just shakes his head. Some people and their pets. Regardless, His Majesty did request your presence. He will be taking his breakfast, I believe, shortly, and has invited you so you can talk and talk over the breaking of the fast.
Oh, we get breakfast as well.
Yes.
Let's go.
Why didn't you say so earlier?
I was getting there.
Starts following.
Okay, good. I'm glad. We. Apparently, food is the motivator today. He turns on his heel and just starts walking. He heads straight out of the park and across some dirt and some cobbled streets, and he leads you up what is essentially an incredibly steep incline to almost the top of almost like a local mountain in some respects. And this castle is built in the center of the city atop this hill. And with the grace of someone who's walked this path far too many times, he navigates these streets and up into this castle through a secure gateway that is open for him and for you. And you are led into a great hall where you can see it's a throne room. And then he opens one of the side doors, and there is a white dragonborn with his feet up on a table, rubbing his face, reading some notes. Tilts his head over. I wonder when you get here. Good job, Takara. The elf nods, walks over, picks up one of the letters, and says, I'll be reading this in the corner if you need me. The dragonborn just nods. Thank you. The dragonborn looks over at you and says, please take a seat. He sat at a large table which has other chairs and everything. He looks at the center and goes, I don't know how. Sorry, your kind are not particularly well traveled, not common where I'm from. I don't know. Do you like a stool? I guess a banked chair is not so good for you.
I'll be fine standing.
Okay. Sorry, didn't want to offend, but civility thing.
Just looks over.
Well, this is awkward. Sorry, I'm new to this whole kingly thing. I do have a job for you if you were interested. He sort of pulls his legs off the table and sits up straight.
Oh.
Job sounds good. Your friend mentioned breakfast.
Yes, of course. I'm just was waiting to see what you wanted. I have some of the bread rolls from town. There's a variety of sliced meats.
Yes.
Some other bits and pieces that'll be coming through shortly. Any requests for tea, coffee?
I look at Roth. I don't really know what that is, probably, especially coffee. Tea, maybe?
I'll take coffee.
I think we'll start both of you on tea.
Yes. Tea.
Is that thing stuff made from leaves?
Yes, and coffee is made from beans. He stands up and walks over to the door, pokes his head to another doorway and pokes his head out and speaks. It's muffled by the fact he's leant outside the door, so he doesn't hear what's said. But some bread is brought through. You hear the whining of a kettle that's just going to boil, and like several mugs of tea are brought out for you. And essentially, in front of you, you have like a platter of breads and meats, like a light style, like bread and meat breakfast.
I pick at things and eat.
The Dragonborn takes his tea and is sipping at it, clearly enjoying the warm beverage. So, I trust your journey wasn't too awful.
Wow. What were those things?
I'm assuming you're referring to the things that were chasing you last night?
Yes.
To be frank, those are the undead.
What I mean,
Pardon?
they're not like others.
No, they are faster and possibly much angrier than a lot of undead that you'd normally come across. Normally being relative to undead, not as in they're a common occurrence. They are a particular breed of undead. Horrible creatures, but nonetheless, they are what dwells in the plains. And should you disturb any of the monuments to those that fell in the war without purifying those sites, then they are bodies left to rot in the soil. You claw them their way out, and you basically wake up a horde.
How does one purify such a place?
Generally, it's done through a divine magic elements.
Roth just looks confused.
Do you have the faithful shamans, anything of the sort?
Not for a generation.
Right. Some of those people who are chosen by gods, by those beings with whom people have a religious connection, it can often provide power. That they choose champions. They grant power to those who sworn to live by an oath, and it is through manipulation of that divine energy into what we would commonly refer to as spells that can be used to purify these locations. It would stop the undead from rising, but it wouldn't stop those who've already risen. As such, to put it politely, I suspect I will have to go and deal with the horde you woke up on your travels before they start waking up other hordes.
They wake up other. There is more than one of those sites.
Yes, this country was nearly burnt to nothing by or melts nothing, dissolved, frozen, battered, electrocuted down to pretty much nothing by the Queen of the Dragons, the chromatic queen, the goddess of evil dragons. She has a variety of other titles, but I shan't say her name given how close we are to the damage that she caused with her last rise.
This is spoken of in the herd.
It's around 250 years ago now.
It has been passed down.
Was not a pleasant time to be alive.
No. I think not.
It's been summer ever since, and now we are finally trailing into winter. So it makes you think, if summer lasted 250 years, how long will winter last?
That isn't. The herd will not survive that. They will dislike being in the city. Roth is kind of mumbling to himself a little. Not enough space.
Well, we will have to see what can be done in the longer term. For the immediate term, this is the best way to keep them safe. The walls and our defenders will discourage any incursions. In the longer run, I may have use for a herd of centaurs.
He just raises an eyebrow.
In the sense that I could provide you a range to live out and claim as your herd ground in the realm that I claim as my own. Space for your own village. But it would serve a purpose, an important one, as would potentially people from your herd. Be a way of ensuring that you do not want from your people do not want as a collective for money. All that we require is a simple service.
This might be agreeable to the elders.
So how about I pitch it this way? The job I have in mind for you two is to send you to an outpost, if you will, a frontier watch post, a forward operating base that has been set up near one of the other cities that is in need of reclaiming and, well, reclaiming and purging of the elements that have taken up residence and fester there.
More of those undead?
Those would likely be the smallest of the concerns, depending on the size. Those particular creatures are often found in large swarms out in the open, hence their adaptation for speed. The cities, while they may be a variant you'll find in there, they may not be the dominant issue there.
What would?
Well, last I was in that city, there was a hole that led to the realm of transition between life and death.
Roth looks a little confused.
And it was partially the realm claimed by a creature called the Shadow Dragon. It and I had a conversation. I sent it back into the Shadowlands, but I did not kill it.
No.
So I do not know whether it has returned and is lurking in the city again. But I'll be honest, I don't really know what's there. All I know is I need to have it cleared out and secured, so I can take people there. Because this city, he gestures broadly. You get the impression he is very much means where you're currently resident.
Mm-hmm.
Will eventually have too many people in it. We have people arriving from across the world who want to forge a new life in this frontier, and it will be beneficial for me to be able to claim that other city, as it is also on the coast and further west, to bring it into the fold. And you two seem capable, more so than a lot of people. I must admit, I've sent some other capable individuals ahead of you, as it were. They already have set up the outpost and have started making food there, making it a livable place. So you'd have help. You'd have a safe an outpost to go back to. But I would need you to make forays into the city and not die horribly doing so. You do this. I would then, obviously, we'd ensure your people remain suitably accommodated in the city. Also then, provided you can successfully clear the entire of this other city of whatever is there, I would then grant your people an area of land within which to claim as your own, subservient to my rule and my law, to create your own village, to have as your roaming ground, if you will. And I would ask only that some of your people consent to run messages, as you can move far more swiftly than even the swiftest of my runners, I'm sure.
No, we need to check with the elders.
Of course.
But I think they would be amenable to this.
But as much as the realm would be yours to live in, you would still be subject to my law, and that is not negotiable.
And what are your laws?
Takra, he holds out his hand, and the elf sighs, walks over, pulls like a scroll out of like a pocket, hands it to him. He leans over and hands it to you.
I take it.
It's like a chunky, like several-page parchment document. I would recommend you not read that now and you spend some time with your elders studying it. This is the common tongue variant, as I'm assuming you are most able to read common.
Some only speak Sylvan in our clan, in our herd, but
Takra,
most of the elven.
the
Elders.
elf just sighs.
Most of
One
the
moment.
elders have common also.
The elf walks out of the room for a second, comes back with another set of scrolls and hands it to you.
I take it.
It's the same scripture, just all in Sylvan.
I take it.
The Dragonborn shrugs and says, I spent far too long with the elves. He swaps almost casually to Sylvan. I understand needing to speak different languages.
This is more common to us.
Can understand that. From the rumors I'd heard of your people, you find association with the Fae much easier than others.
Shrugs.
Looks at the Furbolg, who he just assumes understood this entire conversation.
No, I just look confused. But I've heard them speaking this before, probably. So I just sort of
You sort of back to common. I'm sorry, I assumed, Flurry, that you spoke Sylvan.
No.
Do you have a more language you're more comfortable speaking in then?
Well, this is fine. I can speak to the elves.
He sorts of Elvish. Can you?
Yes.
Wonderful. It's an interesting tongue, Elven. It took me several years to get rid of my horrible draconic accent in it. The elf who stood next to him just looks at him and goes, took you several decades. The youth of today, he says, in common, just no politeness, their elders. You just see a twitch in the elf's eye. The Dragonborn can't smile, but you get the impression he's just shifting slightly because he's amused. But nonetheless, he hands, the Dragonborn pulls a set of scrolls, which is the same text again, but in Elven, and hands it to you, Flurry.
Thank you.
No problem. These are, of course, laws are under review constantly, and so if one of them is no longer appropriate, we do review them. However, they are expected to be enforced and will be enforced in the lands that I claim.
Yes.
Are they centaur inclusive?
They do not provide any bonus towards any particular species. The type of species you claim to be is entirely not mentioned. There is no specific laws for dragonborn, no specific laws for elves. They are laws that are to govern the people, regardless of what they claim to be, who they are, the color of their skin, the type of language they speak, their place of origin. It does not matter. This is going to be a country that is a melting pot, a mixture of people from all across the world, different cultures, different creeds. It does not matter. The idea is we all have a dream to build this place new, to live the frontier lifestyle, to then build something new out of that. Over the centuries, it may become a vast, bustling series of cities spread across just over a quarter of a continent. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is the law and the people.
Good. It reminds me of the city to your north,
Hmm.
by the bridge.
Yes,
The bridge is broken.
I had suspected that would be the case.
Where there are creatures, things watching the city.
I suspected that would also be the case. That particular city you're referring to is also on where two rivers meet, yes?
Yes.
That is not far from I'll call it the gap. I think is the best way of phrasing it.
No.
The gap is where the Dragon Queen rose from and was then cast down. It is not the most pleasant location. He decides on his words after a moment.
Just disconcert.
And it will only become more so unless it is guarded and watched properly. But that is talk for another time. The city to the west that I was referring to is called Nolaska. It is a number of days or weeks travel from here, depending on how fast you move. Days if you move magically quickly, weeks if you move quickly at a normal sort of traveling speed, I suppose. I do not believe we have any boats due to be departing in that direction anytime soon, unfortunately.
We still need to talk to the elders, settle them here.
Entirely understandable. Regardless, your elders, your people are welcome to stay for a while if they choose not to join us. Though, given what is happening in the far west, this is probably still a safer place during this time of crisis.
Yes.
At the very least, that the hospitality will be extended to them until the null threat has been dealt with.
Roth kind of bows his head a little.
Hopefully, if your elders cannot agree to sending you on a job for that, they will at least hopefully agree to resettle in these lands. As the closer you are to the city in the short term, the closer you are to a safe haven.
Yes. The elders do rely on us, though, to safeguard the herd.
There are just two of you for your whole herd.
There are other fighters, but we are oddly adapted.
We can understand that.
Besides, I am still training some of the young ones.
This job I have for you would take you away from them for some time. Perhaps it'd be best to ask your peers to take over some of the training, should you choose to accept the job.
They would have to.
Well, regardless, I hope you enjoyed the breakfast. I shan't ask for a decision now. I would ask, of course, that perhaps if you join me for breakfast again tomorrow, you might have a decision by then.
Rough notes.
Good. Well, until then, my people will see yours, given the basic provisions that we can spare for the time being. It won't be fancy, but it'll be enough to get you by.
We have a little coin from previous trading in the herd.
We would not take that from you. We would provide. We can, from the kindness of our hearts, while you're staying with us. And though if you wish to work, if your people wish to work, we will pay them their due for their work.
Many are skilled craftsmen.
Things we are sorely lacking.
Hmm.
Perhaps if you're fighters, I may come down and ask to spar with some of your people. There's a snort from the elf who sat reading behind them. I was like, what? I can kick most of the guards behind without much difficulty, Taka. This at least is some variety. The elf just rolls his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the youth today. No respect.
I look at the elf and try and gauge how old he is, and then look back to the dragonborn.
The elf, you've dealt with elves before, right?
Yeah.
Very clearly, this is an adult elf who is going to be several hundred years old, at a minimum.
Several hundred years old. I think you are overestimating how old that crate is.
You are judging as a centaur, and you're looking at a fully grown elf. This elf
yeah.
could be anywhere from 100 to 1,000. Well, not quite that high, up to 700, and they would not look any different. This is an adult elf.
Is he not older than you?
I'm an
This is not
exception.
species of
I am an
Yes,
unfortunate
Master.
exception to the rule of my species' general lifespan. Although resurrection does that to you.
resurrection.
I lived, I died, I came back again.
I'm very confused.
I am, well, to put it very bluntly, I'm a plaything of the gods at this point. I was brought back to fulfill my duty, which is the rebuilding of this and building of this nation. I suspect I will live long enough to see it reborn like a phoenix from the ashes of its predecessor. I'm waiting to hear for you to go, how old is the Dragonborn?
It is rude to ask people's age.
Generally, that's
So the elders told me.
tell me, Roth, how old are your elders?
I would not ask their age.
Okay. Generally, how old are your elders? Generally.
Sentence.
The DM will go and find the book the centaurs are in. I believe it's this one.
It is. I think it's like 70 or 80.
Please hold, caller.
So, whilst Ross is looking at it, Throd would notice, obviously Roth has a number of tattoos, mostly tribal markings. There is one in his top right chest area that looks remarkably like the symbol of the mother bear. You would see part of it peeking out past his shirt.
Centaurs will live to about 100 the age of the humans.
Mhm.
And the humans of D&D generally live to 100 years old.
I am young for my race. It would not do well to question my elders.
Understandable.
Or I'm young for my position within the herd.
And you're what, in your 20s, 30s, perhaps?
20s.
Oh. He laughs. I'm assuming you know of humans.
Yes.
Your species age the same as humans, I suspect. Yes?
Similarly, yes.
I am far older than the average human would live to before they pass away. He gestures to Fly. Fly, pray tell, how old do your people generally live till?
A few centuries, some a bit longer.
I am probably closer in age to, he gestures to Fly, one of your elders. I am getting close to my 2nd century now.
Huh.
I am a veteran of the Tiamat War. He pauses. I probably shouldn't say her name. It's close to the gap, as I previously insinuated, but just slipped out.
Some people seem to not appreciate that, I've noticed.
Well, names have power.
So they say.
Right. Well, I shan't keep you. Please feel free to explore the city. The people are generally quite welcoming, as they're from all over. As you're two less common species, you may find you draw some attention as you're exploring the city. The areas that are still being rebuilt and under construction, I would ask you to be careful in, as I can't guarantee what is under the rubble at the moment. Might be sharp. I'd rather you didn't hurt yourselves. The guard are, of course, there if you encounter any trouble that you can't deal with yourselves. Although I'd ask if you do encounter trouble, if you can deal with it yourselves, you do it in a non-lethal fashion.
You have much trouble here.
Not much. We have the odd troublemaker. But that's generally desperate people in a desperate situation. A lot of people have come back within the walls recently because of the gnolls and because of the undead hordes. They had been trying to strike it out in the plains and in the forests. Well, just in the night after you arrived, you had several more families come back simply because of the damage being done by the undead horde that came through the forest, following you two and your herd.
One of the little ones knocked over a vase thing.
An urn, I suspect.
Mm.
Full of ash?
I did not see it.
On a stone circle, yes? Out in the
Yes.
grasslands. Yes, that is one of the sites I was referring to earlier. But again, regardless, I shan't detain you any longer than you'd like to be. If you have any further questions, feel free, but if you wish to go and explore the city, by all means. If you wish to go and speak to elders, if we just follow the path that heads out of here and straight down, it'll lead you down towards the docks eventually, not far from the park, where your people have been posted up in.
We appreciate the open space.
It is the largest safe park that we currently have. Unfortunately, the other one is still partially under rubble, as there was an accident there recently. And if you see a stone giant, don't freak out.
The one from yesterday.
Yes, that's Stein. He's our architect.
I have never seen one in person before.
They are very rare in this day and age. Oh, and there are also rumors that I should deal with now. If you see dragons that are chromatic, stay away from them. If you see a metallic dragon, don't upset them. Generally, they'll probably fly and overhead. People are claiming to see dragons, so if you happen to encounter one of them, by all means, let me know, but don't engage them whatever you do. If they're living out here, they'll be old beasties.
Seems like good advice.
The Dragonborn nods. Oh, please, enjoy the city. It's humble, but we make do.
Okay.
And should you decide you have any further questions, I'm available for a number of hours today. Though either Takra or my guard captain, I'm sure, will make themselves available for you if you need the assistance.
I shall check with the elders.
Yes.
Of course. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day enjoying the city then. I have a town hall event to deal with in the next couple of hours, so I listen to the troubles of the people of the city and propose resolutions to them.
Like an
mitigate
elder.
arguments. Yes, much like the functional elders would deal with.
Enjoy that.
Enjoy. You have a sense of humor, Centaur. I'll give you that.
He grins. It's odd.
The Dragonborn offers an attempt to grin back. You hear the scales creak and the sharp, pointed teeth appear.
Weird.
Yes, I don't like smiling like that. It's spent too long around squishy-faced things like yourselves. Picks up bad habits with scale faces. He pushes himself to his feet, picking up one of the last bits of meat and wandering out of the room. Have a good day, you two.
Thank you.
We should take this to the elders and
Yes.
see what they want us to do, and then we can see what we want to do.
Sounds good. Yes.
I guess we wander back.
As you walk out of the castle, you guys get a full scope of sort of this side of the city. You see there's a large area that was once perhaps quite built up right around the castle that is just rubble that has been pushed into place to make large streets accessible. And you can see all the way down to the docks where you can see there are boats docked. A boat is coming in, and like you can see like huge amounts of stuff is being taken off, like cargo. People are being brought off these boats. You very much get the impression that people are voluntarily moving here from other places, and suppliers are coming in. You know, you can see from here the other park the Dragonborn King was referring to, and you can see the park, the centaurs. You can see them moving around, like they're little figures walking around in the park. But you can see like the town square by the docks, where you can see smoke coming out of the chimney, and you get the impression that the bakery as it has some line coming out of it. You can see one of the you assume it's one of the tavern buildings based on the sign you can see swinging, and the fact someone's rolling a keg into the basement. But you can take in just the breadth of this large city.
This is disconcerting. It is too closed in.
Yes. It's not where I would choose to live. Although I can see the attraction. It seems safe. Like one giant herd.
I had not thought about it like that. We should use that when the elders complain.
You think they will complain much?
I take a second, I look at you. Much. They are not going to like being here.
Perhaps the promise of their own land, so to speak, will make it easier for them.
That is my hope.
Then I think we should ask them. You, not me. That probably wouldn't do much good.
I think they have come to respect your help of late.
Oh, I can be there if you want, but I do not think my opinion holds value to them.
I think you'd be mistaken.
We will see.
I'm assuming you're having this conversation as you walk down.
Yeah.
As you're walking down, there's people walking back up. They're dressed humbly, like some of them are in like standard peasants garb, like brown, like woolen attire. There's like it looks quite coarse. There's people who are bickering. Like two men are bickering over like a ledge, like a book, as they're walking up. Looks to be people who are being. There's a set of people who are being dragged up in chains, by what looks to be town guard. Both people in chains appear to have broken noses and are bleeding from their faces. You get the impression there was probably a fight somewhere. But there's a steady stream of people moving up towards the castle as you guys are walking away, and they part like the sea in front of you as a number of them are blinking at the surprise at the appearance of you two. You're very different people to each other, and you're both species that until very recently either people that only heard myths about or had never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So Flurry, you were a furbolg.
Yeah.
Your people don't generally leave the Feywild. So a lot of people are like, whoa, who's that? Like you hear whispers. Like they're not an elf. And like a few people can't try and identify what kind of species you are. And there's a number of little kids who are watching the guard walk past. They're like following the guard out of interest. And a couple of these little, they can't be older than like 6 or 7 year olds, see you in the centaur, and they're like, whoa, new people. And as you're walking down, you realize you've got a little group of kids following you.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to go, hey, I think that's a centaur. They're like part horsey, part person.
I laugh when I keep walking.
It is.
What's your passive?
12.
I'll roll me a perception check.
A 12.
No.
I think I can.
And then a little girl goes, no, he's not. Then he is not part horsey. He's part pony. And you risk a glance over your shoulder, and this little girl can't be older than 5, and she's like starry-eyed at the fact that someone can be part pony. You have like a squad, like a set of like 7 or 8 children just following you, and they're all between the ages of like 5 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
There are a variety of races. They're clearly very young children. There's a young human who is the little girl. There's a young dragonborn, and there's a young elf, and then there's a mixture of other species that they're all relatively similar. They all fade back into the background as you know they're following you. But you reach the town square where you can see the park off to one side, the docks ahead of you. You've got the tavern and bakery.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little general store that's just set away from the docks. That's only just on the square. But you can see through the trees, both of you, that the centaurs are awake. A number of them have had troubles with the tents. And there's several collapsed tents with what looks to be like centaur hooves, like trying to scrape at the material. And there's some younger centaurs like trying to pull the older ones out of the tents. And the elders have all had no problem with tents, as if they've had experience with them, and they are like kneeling in a circle around a small fire, and clearly conversing, holding court, if you will. One of the little foals gallops up to you as they see you, like, you're back.
Yes, young one.
This little centaur just hugs Roth.
I hug the little one back.
They grin up at you, and then they trot over to Flurry, and they lean down to hug you, Flurry.
I hug them back as well.
Carl, quick, the elders are doing the talking.
Oh, really?
The little one like grabs you by the wrist, Flurry, and tries to drag you off.
I follow.
They know they can't pull Roth around, but Roth will follow you. So,
I mean, they probably can't if they're still quite small. I'm quite big.
yeah, you're quite big, but they're quite small. But they're also centaurs, and
Yeah,
they
fair.
are essentially trying to carry you. And
Yeah.
they're technically counted as a size larger than they are for carrying capacity. It's like, Paul, come on, get over here.
Yeah.
You could stop them.
To be
But
fair,
they're
I
also a
also count
child.
it as a size larger.
Yeah, you could stop them,
Yeah, but no.
but they are a child.
Yeah.
And you're like, you imagine you take it in quite good humor, like, I'm going to get dragged now.
Yeah.
It's like you're having to essentially to like, they're going quite quickly, so you just have to like skip a little bit to keep up. It's like,
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
The foal basically goes, Elders, I found them. And the eldest of the elders sort of look up and go, the exuberance of youth.
Indeed.
Is that what that is?
Roth, you were old before your time.
So you keep telling me.
You're the exception rather than the rule.
So you keep telling me.
Several of the other elders just snigger at that, knowing this is an old argument. I hear you have had a meeting with the elder of this city.
Yes.
A king, they call him?
He commands a big herd.
Is that what this is? Last I checked, the herd travels. It does not sit in one place.
That is our way.
That is the way of a herd.
That is not everyone's way.
Then they are not herd.
I think that is a debate for another day.
So you say. And what did this elder king have to say for himself?
He offers an option. He has asked that Flurry and I help him with the city to the west of here, on the coast in Alaska. And once the Knoll threat that drove us from our land is dealt with, he would offer us a land of our own as long as we were to follow his laws. I placed the book in Sylvan in front of one of the elders.
The elder takes it and just
They would
unrolls it and begins reading.
also ask that we provide runners for them to move messages.
So he would what? We come into the city, he is willing to offer us land for what? A service?
Yes.
That is all he would ask of us.
And we follow his law.
The oldest of the elders is
And
looking at the one who's reading.
Flurry and I would be asked to help them with this city, Alaska.
What say you, kinsman? What say you of the laws of this king elder? The centaur who's reading lifts their head. Does not seem to impinge on our cultures or our traditions. Would allow us in a reasonable amount of autonomy. There's a slight shrug from the elder, as if it's like, well, there would be a few necessary changes if we were to agree, but nothing that would be an overt hardship on our people. We would have from a law point of view, we would be, well, we would in fact potentially legally be protected by these laws, as they favour no culture and they would allow everyone to have their own culture, provided it does not harm those around them or those who would not follow their culture. It is another may not believe as you do, but that does not mean they are not entitled to respect for what they believe mentality, from what I see. A live and let live, provided you do no harm. I see no fault with these. The older of the elders sort of just nods. Then, younglings, perhaps you would discuss your job with this elder king. Is it part of the agreement with us having land, or is that a job privately for the two of you?
I believe it more of the latter, but it would provide funding for the herd.
And once the herd is on its feet and can provide what has been asked for, along with the I'm assuming this elder king would want some sort of taxation, like grain, some sort of supplies. The elders reading nods as if there is stuff about taxation and infrastructure that would pay for, but it is outlined. Then perhaps once we are established, you could then use that to provide for yourselves, rather than simply for the herd. Of course, we would never say no to you assisting the herd, as the future of our herd is what we have lived for so long, what we have strived for against all these odds and hardships.
You named me protector of the herd. That is my job. This is perhaps best how I can provide for the herd in the short term. They are few of skilled craftsmen, and there is a way we can make money within the city in the short term, whilst Flurry and I are away.
Live within this pen of a city.
Short term.
Assist them while they protect us, and we can assist in the protection of others. The building of whatever we can that we all would require as a. If we are to believe this is a herd, that would make sense, would it not? What say you, Flurry? What do you think of what this king has offered?
I believe him to be honest in his offer. I don't see a reason for lies. I think the land would be good for the herd, but I appreciate it will be difficult at first to stay within these walls.
It would chafe as we are used to travel and used to stretching our legs properly.
Yes.
Though I suppose if they have long enough streets, it would not stop us from running. Or running
I think
patrols.
there will be some children who would very much enjoy that.
Though we should be careful, they are small.
Yes.
Easy to go unnoticed.
We have to be careful whenever we traded with the other folk. They are all small, bar the Dragonborn. And the part giant one.
They have a giant within the city.
The creature we saw yesterday.
Yes.
The ashen-skinned ones.
I've seen that before.
That is because the tales of the giants are old even for us elders. Almost forgotten to us now. Perhaps that should be the story for tonight. The giants and the ordning, perhaps.
That would be most interesting. Of course, there is something we've also overlooked. There are many different types of people here. They would have many stories to share.
Trading of knowledge or of elders' wisdom. Is that what you're suggesting, Protector?
Yes. And
skills for skills, wisdom for wisdom.
Our wisdom and our stories are somewhat limited to what we know. But people come from, he said, across the world here. There would be stories we have not heard.
and skills we have not learnt.
Yes.
I see the logic in your argument, Protector. Perhaps remaining within this pen, within this city, might be prudent for the time being. Then perhaps staying within this pen would be prudent for the time being, at least until the threat of these gnolls is past at the very minimum. Perhaps we would take this king up on his offer. New lands to make our own that are closer to an ally that would willingly protect us would be better. We were caught flat-footed, if you will, when those of the villagers of South Sage fell,
It happened very quickly.
and they were left in disarray. Such sweet folk, artistic and vibrant, but not those in not the best friends in uncertain times.
No.
Are you meeting this Elder King again?
He has asked us to give us his answer tomorrow.
Then I think I can speak for the herd when I say that we will remain here for the time being, though we reserve right as to whether or not we will take him up on the offer of land for a short while longer, so we may have a full debate on it amongst the elders. Though, Protector, that is not something we would require you to deliver for us. We would be quite happy to trot forward and speak to this king ourselves.
I'm sure he will appreciate that.
If you wished to take his job offer, then we will definitely remain within these walls. If you believe they will be able to protect us in the way that you are expected to.
The king himself is a fierce fighter. He showed us that last night. They take their crime very seriously here. I believe this to be a safe place.
Then if the two of you wish to take that job, we will not discourage it nor deny you from it. This oldest of the elders is looking around at the other elders here, who nod in agreement.
It would bring money for the herd.
And prestige to the herd as you demonstrate your skills to others. And for you, Flurry, I believe it would help you build connections to other parts of the world and to other skilled individuals, as you may wish to hone your own craft.
I would hope so. Yes.
It's further experience rather than just running with us. I believe you would benefit from diversity.
Perhaps. Yes.
I heard tales when I was a wee foal of a place not far from here that built or trained perhaps some of the greatest monks ever to grace the earth. Perhaps that is something you may wish to raise with the king. I do not remember the full story, but maybe he would know more.
I shall ask him. Thank you.
You are a protector for us just as much as Roth is, though we do not know you as well. He has come to respect you, so we offer you that much. You are almost heard. There's a smirk on the elder's face.
I sort of smirk back, yeah.
You're just 2 legs short.
I shall attempt to work on that.
You have earned your place amongst us. Do not fear that. And should after this all come to pass you wish to remain with us, we will accept you as heard.
Thank you.
The elder nods, and the little foal that's with you is like happy dancing. They've tried really hard to remain quiet, but like now bouncing slightly.
Aw. What's the name of the little foal?
You're not entirely certain. To be honest, like there's a number of foals that are very like there's like a 3 or 4 foals who look incredibly similar to this one because they all were born at pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
So you're like, mm-hmm.
Okay.
The elders one of the elders has fallen asleep. The elders just sort of rubs his forehead like, oh. Sleep comes ever easier to us these days. Especially that one. The elder you'd be speaking to yawns heavily. The run is still tired, a number of us out. We shall retire for a well-needed nap. Should you require our guidance, we'll provide it after the story this evening.
Rest well.
We shall certainly try. This city is louder than the wilds.
That is true.
I would encourage you to be careful out in this city, though.
Oh.
They do not know you yet, and you do not know them. Be wary but welcoming, and I'm sure they will be the same.
Yes. As with all new places.
Indeed. Good day, protectors. Oh, excuse me. So the elder says as they push themselves to their feet and begin trotting towards their tent. They gave us cushions. I like these cushions.
Sometimes elders are a little too easy to please.
I heard that.
You were supposed to. I was testing your hearing.
Don't forget who taught you everything you know, protector.
But I can do things that you can't.
But I have done things that you can't and won't.
True enough. I've seen your wife. And I trot.
The elder will remember this. And you guys essentially have been summarily dismissed because the elder has gone for a nap. And it looks like the rest of the elders are either asleep or going to be joining the eldest in sleep. The little foal is throwing their hands up in the air, giving you a hug, Flurry, and has just run off to tell their friends.
Before the young ones come back.
Run?
Yeah, let's see something of this
City.
Yes.
What was it? They called it a tavern?
I believe so, yes.
So you guys want to head to the tavern?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You head off towards the town square. And there is a building that looks like it's clearly been repaired, but it looks like it was one of the first repairs that was done. As it looks like the structure as a whole is more weathered, more like in a more together fashion. Like there's not one type of weathering than another type of weathering where something's been patched. Recently, it's more consistent in the discoloration, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. So this building is it has been repaired. But it has that hole. It has like the timber frame, has the glass. You can see people moving inside. It's not particularly busy at this time in the morning, but the sign outside has like tavern written under it, and is like swinging with there's like a mead glass like under it, just swinging backwards and forwards in the wind. You're both probably gonna have to stoop to get in the doorway though. It's not designed for people of your height. You'd note as you push the door open and stoop, there is a dent in the door frame at the top, and you'd note the flecks of white scales in the dent. As you can piece together, who's headbutted the top of the door frame more than once.
I stoop to get.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult to stoop.
Mhm.
And walk forward as a horse.
Yeah. As you walk in, there is a staircase on your immediate left, and like to your immediate right is like the corner of the bar. So the bar goes up a little way, and then sort of ahead of you, almost forming like a mini corridor with the stairs on the left. Then it curves round, and there's a support beam and like a wall with like coat hooks and an umbrella stand. But there's an open space like diagonally to your right, and then a step up to what looks to be like a raised set of tables and chairs. Left beyond the stairs, and there is a dwarf leaning on the bar who looks to you guys and goes, newcomers,
Indeed.
Yes.
welcome to my tavern.
Thank you.
This is for short people.
No, it's for average sized people, thank you very much. You'll find I'm perfectly average height for a dwarf, and most of my patrons are perfectly average height for themselves.
I have seen dwarfs before. You are average height for a dwarf.
Not sure if that's a compliment or not, horseboy.
Original. I'm smiling.
The dwarf is also grins. Goes, you can take a joke. That's fine.
Mm.
So I'd offer you a seat, but one of you, I know you can take it. The other, they just have stools in front of the bar.
It is fine.
I don't know how the tavern, like the bar person's like, I'm gonna have to have a stool or seat made for you. How do you use seats?
No. I just shake my head.
I'm gonna have to get some
I will
commissioned.
stand.
I'm gonna get some commissioned so you can take a weight off your hooves while you're in. It's only fair. Everyone else can take a weight off.
I don't believe we'll be here long.
Well, if one of you is here, there's some more of you. The least you can do is suck it up and take experimental chairs for the sake of the rest of your people. How about that?
I'm sure my elders will approve.
Right, cool. So what can I get you? We have beer, wine, and whiskey. And vodka.
Beer.
Beer it is.
Yeah. Beer.
Beer, perfect. Dwarves love their beer. That's why we're very good at it. Beer, ale, mead, that lovely, lovely stuff. The dwarf turns around and picks up a tap. Like it's an actual tap, like for a keg. It turns around and just shoves it into the bottom of a keg that's propped up on behind them. They just turned around and tapped a keg straight in front of you guys. They pull out like a wooden tankard and just fill you. Essentially, they pour you both a pint of beer into different tankards and slide them to you. So that'll be 2 copper apiece, please.
I pull out the silver and pay.
They hand you back the 6 copper change. So, what's brought you to Windcarn then? Oh, newcomers?
No.
Ah,
Yes.
it's understandable. We had a number of boats from the different towns of South Sage, mostly from the colder southern bits, and a few from East March. Yeah, East March.
Yes, we elected to run.
Ah,
Not fan of boats.
can understand that.
They are not stable.
The dwarf pulls like I must not make a bad pun about stables and horseboy face.
I have a look of distaste around the idea of getting on a boat.
I'm sure there definitely weren't stables and they weren't appropriate for centaurs at all.
Oh, you are one of those. The funny bartenders.
I'm a dwarf. It comes with its territory, I'm afraid.
Is that because you're funny looking?
No, I think that's fine to you. And now, at least we're horsing around with these things now.
You are amusing, little one.
Call him little.
I look at the dwarf. I look down at the dwarf.
So, ran from Knowles and found your way here, hey?
Mm.
Well, you're not the only people finding your way here these days. We had to build 3 new sets of residential homes recently. So many new families coming in, so many people's skills, so many people who want to go out and live in the wilds, do their thing. It's very interesting. So many people from so many different walks of life stay here for a couple of days before they're ready to get going.
We should tell the elders about this place.
Mm.
Most people will sit in here, have a drink or two, and be quite happy to share stories if that's what you're looking for.
The elders would appreciate a cultural exchange.
Beer, money, and stories. That's how this place works. The last lot of adventurers who came through the Midwind Clan, their home is still around here somewhere. One of them is in that crazy looking house with the big metal pipe coming out the roof. What do they call it? The observatory.
What is that?
She likes looking at the stars. So she uses the metal tube and some like glass, from spectacles to make the stars look bigger or something.
Odd. You
Yeah.
can see them perfectly well.
Well, yeah, but she wants to see them closer, doesn't she?
But they're not closer.
No, but they can make them look closer.
But that is a lie.
Yeah, but it means you can see them better. I don't know. Don't ask me about it. You've got the what's his name? I don't remember his name, but he had a hood and he liked to get into trouble. He still runs a slightly less reputable house of enjoyment, alcohol, music, that sort of thing. Doesn't let people stay, doesn't trade in stories. It's more people go to get drunk and party. And gamble sometimes, but I work here, so I don't know.
Mm. This does not sound like a place we should let the young Folings go.
Then there's that other one, that other adventurer who's around somewhere. He likes punching stuff. Tries to sound wise, but he just likes getting angry and punching things. I say angry. Can't really tell if it's anger. He just looks grumpy all the time. The barman's just looking at you. So, what about yourself? The centaur around here. Did you run with him?
Yes.
If you pardon me saying so, you're not a centaur.
I have noticed that, yes.
I'm glad. 'Cause if you hadn't, I'd say you probably want to get checked out.
Sort of looks awkwardly like, is this the jokes they make? I don't know.
Which ones?
Oh.
There's lots of jokes I can make. Some of them are stable puns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll be honest. Can't think of more familiar with your kind than I am his.
You are?
Yeah, I bumped into a furball once in my travels. Got lost in an old forest. I was visiting, was in Masonhead at the time. And may or may not have accidentally stumbled into the Fae, not too far from a furball village. They had the decency to push me back out of the portal again. Gently patted me on the head, gave me some herbal tea and said, "Don't do that again. You might lose your memories."
Yes, it is not recommended to visit there.
Well, I didn't intentionally.
It happens more often than you think.
Interesting.
But I had the opportunity to have a good chat with one of them as they sat essentially outside the portal with me for Excuse me, sorry. I should not be drinking beer at this time of the morning. It gives me hiccups. But I had the good fortune to listen to them chatting, so as I said, I'm more passingly familiar with your kin than horse boys.
Hmm.
I thought they were just myths.
Myths.
Huh. Well, other than some crackpot villagers in northern South Edge, no one's seen your kin for 300, 400 years.
We trade with those we need to.
Right. Well, anyway, you just out enjoying the town?
Yes.
We do, yes.
Nice. You want to know some sites I'd recommend seeing just for knowing about the city?
That is good.
I imagine you know about the cast already. Given the look of you, the king's probably tried to recruit you for some sort of job already.
We had breakfast.
Fair enough. Well, this is the tavern. It's really run by my boss, but she's busy at the moment, and I got the morning shift. There's Wakey Bakey's, the bakery. Does the best baked goods in the city. There's the general store, which you might have seen just by the docks, and there's the docks themselves. The dock master can be a bit finicky about people wandering up and down her docks, but sometimes watching the ships is nice.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think any are due to go out anytime soon. I think they would be repairing some before we let them go back on the voyage. Background to, well, they have to go all the way to Eastwatch now, Eastmarch, and then all the way up to either Belcrest in Primor, all the way around to Vinar and Masonary in one go, because Fairspell and Grey Hollow are both gone. So,
Gone.
well, Grey Hollow is straight up gone. It was destroyed by the Gnolls. And Fairspell, from what last I heard, was being besieged. So, can't make port stops in siege cities and everything. You can't make a pit stop in a graveyard. So they have to make it basically from Eastwatch all the way around to Vinar now. The most, I think, are brave in the trek to directly to Belcrest, as it's another, doesn't add much onto their journey, just some deep sea sailing rather than coastal cutting. There's a shrug from the dwarf. Boats ain't my forte, I'll be honest. I ain't got sea legs. Any Wakey Bakeys is just like, you walk out here, turn left, you can't miss it. There's normally a queue. Lovely lass who runs it. Bit of a sleepy one, but I suppose that's the irony of the name, isn't it?
Yes.
So, plenty of hours to burn. If you want a breakfast meal, I can put something together for what those 6 copper I just gave you for 2 of you.
We had breakfast.
Yeah, well, the king will have given you bread and meat, wouldn't he?
Yes.
That's not a full breakfast. That is a fancy pants elven breakfast. That is not a dwarven meal.
Okay.
I can do you a better breakfast.
I looked at Flurry. You hungry?
Always.
I like you, points at Flurry.
I give her back the 6 copper.
The dwarf takes it. Perfect. Take a seat. I'll back in 5. Apart from you, horseboy, you can keep standing.
You're funny.
I'm hilarious. And the dwarf heads into the back room to the kitchens to begin cooking. And now that you've been given some more sites to visit, this is where I'm going to draw this session to a close. And chat with the king, I've now got your exploring the city itinerary.